Jason. I grew up here too, Representative. Actually, about a half a block away from you.
Yep.
And this used to be my playground here. My playground extended from that mountain out the Loyalsock to the Slabtown Bridge, and I wasn't allowed to go on the other side of Loyalsock, but this literally, this area that we're seated in and those who are standing around, this used to be basically an area that was loaded with brush and litter and probably at times illegal dumping. And you can see what it's been transformed into today. Hit on one of the Senator's comments about the different companies that are experiencing growth, local companies. My wife, and of course myself, until I took this elected position and I had to sign everything over to her on the business end of it, but we have a packaged ice company here in Williamsport, and we just put on, probably about 2 months ago, we had to hire an additional full-time employee. That employee receives benefits, health insurance, and he came from the unemployment rolls. He's a local individual. And today, our second new hire just started. And he was originally from here, from over in the valley, and moved to Philadelphia. He's been in Philadelphia for about 7 years, and it's been very difficult for him to survive down there with their economy and obviously to find work. So he moved back, and we're fortunate to bring he on board. And so again, I know there's a lot of controversy with the Penn State study as far as new hires and how you can associate it with the Marcellus. I can guarantee you, because my wife is not cheap, she's just frugal, she would not be out hiring 2 extra employees because she felt sorry for them. She's hired them because the Marcellus gas companies and related industries are using our ice, and they're using it at a very rapid rate, to the point now where it has exceeded our capacity to produce, and we're now importing from other areas of the state who are not as fortunate as us and have a lot of surplus ice. So again, the ripple effect, the fact that we're bringing in tractor-trailer loads of ice each week offers employment somewhere down the channel of ice manufacturing, that perhaps that person may have been laid off. So I'm not going to defend the Penn State study because I'm not really that familiar with all the details of it, but I will tell you the ripple effect on what's going on in the Marcellus Shale area is incredible, and you can only chase it so far, but it's having a positive effect not only for the Marcellus Shale counties, but obviously for other counties outside of the Marcellus Shale. So I just wanted to point that out. Jason alluded to the fact that yes, Vince, my good friend Vince Matteo and I were appointed to the governor's Marcellus Shale Commission. I vice chaired the local impact and emergency response, and I'm here to tell you that there certainly is a local impact. There's a local impact on townships, boroughs, city, and county government. It's very, very important to understand that unlike the state, they have a revenue stream directly related to the growth of the Marcellus Shale business up here in the form of sales tax, in the form of income tax, corporate tax. All those revenue sources flow to Harrisburg. I think it was just recently reported that there's an $800 million surplus, and my question would be to the Secretary of the Treasury, how much of that can be traced back to the Marcellus Shale? I think it's a question that should be asked, and I think it's a question that should be followed up on and traced, so we get a little credit up here for what we're doing. Back to the local impact. Myself, we were allowed to submit recommendations to the governor. I believe I set the record, didn't I, Vince? I had 81. 81 submission. They did not throw out ADO. Read the fine print in the report. You'll see my, okay. But there truly is some, and I'll get into that in my next note here. But let's talk about the emergency responders, emergency response, and in my opinion, that's the easy part that can be fixed. But the emergency responders here in the northern tier, it's a very, very serious issue. I believe the average age of a volunteer fireman in the northern tier up here is 61 years old. We all know that volunteerism is declining, and it's declining rapidly. And most of these folks really didn't sign up. I'm speaking of the volunteer firemen, really didn't sign up for what just hit them, or what's been hitting them over the last couple of years. I talked to the wife of one firefighter, and volunteer firefighter. On one given week back this spring, he responded to 4 incidences at night. 2 of those incidences he could directly tie to gas-related accidents, and they were both vehicular accidents. By the time, on the one night, by the time he got back, got the equipment put away, got his paperwork done, crawled into bed, it was 3 a.m., and his alarm went off at 5 a.m. to go to his real job, the job that he gets paid for. So for those of you that haven't seen the report, I recommend you get online and take a look at it, and you'll see some recommendations in there for our first responders. It's a scary thought to think that sometime in the future, I know county government will be here to answer the 911 calls, and we will certainly send out the tone to the first responders, but what if there's nobody there? I mean, already we're having cases in some of the counties, even in our county, where we've had to set 3 and 4 tones to get enough volunteers out to respond. So just consideration, and again, the governor has been advised to these impacts with regard to emergency responders. Thanks to Representative Everett, last Tuesday up at the DCNR building, we here in Lycoming County, we hosted the Pennsylvania House of Representatives Finance Committee, and again, thanks to Representative Everett, I was able to testify. And I thought it was very interesting. It was interesting for me to sit there giving testimony and watching the body anguish of the representatives that are outside of the Marcellus Shale. I thought it was quite telling. They literally were on the edge of the seats, and I don't think they had a clue as they were listening to the different testimony. I suggested to a staffer in the governor's office that perhaps representatives and senators outside of the Marcellus Shale that have not stepped foot up here should not be allowed to vote or amend any bills as they come through until they do get up here. Do you think you can get that through, Garth? Good policy?
I think the senator explained the dynamics of how the numbers work.
Yeah. But I don't believe that we as government up here, local government, and we as state government representatives and senators, I don't believe we can do enough outreach to the other elected officials across the Commonwealth to get them up here and see this. Because I'll bet you they don't see this in their district, and if they do, it's probably a rare sight. So just my thoughts on that. One of the things that I testified and had to deal, because after we were done with the governor's commission, we can now talk about what our thoughts are on how the money should be allocated. So I testified again before the House Finance Committee that one of the thoughts, and I'll give Representative Everett, he's the one that planted the seed, one of the ways that might make sense, and let me just give you an example, and it has to deal with local impacts to local governments. 3 boroughs in Lycoming County here, call it Borough A. Borough A has a positive cash flow because of the Marcellus gas. They own their own waterworks, they sell the water. Borough B has no impact, good, bad,